right, I've got 6:30. Let's call the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for October 27th to order. Roll call, please.
James Howard,
Here.
Joe Mullinax,
Here.
Dave Moon,
Here.
Brent Wedding,
Here.
Mike Wilson.
Present. Suppose we suspend the rules and dispense with the reading and privilege of last month's minutes. All in favor? Second. All in favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, old business. The wall at the Harrison Street setback, the Harrison setback. Right. Who would like to speak first?
Go ahead, Joe.
Go ahead, I've done stated, I mean, I was here at the last meeting, so.
Okay.
Okay. Can I sit here, or can you hear me?
Yeah, I prefer you came up to the mic for the recording, but yeah, if you don't mind, please. You state your name and address, sir, please.
This is Bill. Yeah. Okay. Well, I
The
don't know
mask.
everybody.
Sure, fair enough.
Okay. We'll just go past this up here. My name's Jerry Bryant, and my wife and I moved into 602 Harrison in June of 1980. I don't know where to begin. However, we bought the house, and there was only 4 houses. We bought the one at 62 Harrison, and Marie Rourke was there in 1972. She had it, and then we bought it off her. But however, the people before that was, I think it was 1949. Okay, so that's all farther I could go back to there. Dorothy Working, where Deborah Van Hoos and them live now, which her father bought it in 1985, I think it was. They bought it from Ralph and Dorothy Working, and I never really met them. And they had lived there since 1944. So then the neighbor on down Tyler on the corner of this whole block, I never did meet him. There was a house. And then on the end that joins my property, I'm going to sit down. Do you mind?
No, feel free, sure.
Anyhow, his name was Harry Smith, and they had kids. And it goes back to in the 40s somewhere too. And so when I bought this house, the Wells realtor, he's the one that was thing, and Marie Rourke, they said, well, here's, you own this down to the tree line, back to this so-called alley that we're in approaching, you know. I didn't meet Ralph or Dorothy Working, but we got a dog from them at the beginning, that was it. None of them had garages except for Dorothy Working, and I got a picture of it, and there was a barn, like, there wasn't no, you know, driveway out, it just wooded, sheeted, big barn, and I don't know what they used it for. Anyhow, I got pictures here of how it was when I first got it, and then I got the deed here, and I think Bill's got a copy with him, and then the surveyor that was told from your last meeting, well, Mr. Bryant needs to get it, or you'll have it surveyed in the city. I already had it in 1980 because the VA says that's what they wanted.
Yeah.
So I knew kind of about where we was going there back then. So for me to really, so when I moved up, there was this so-called, it says alley. It's supposed to be 12 foot wide, so. It's not that. At the most, it's 9 feet down here. But anyhow, back in the 40s, the way because the end drops off like Deb says, it just kind of no alley. Well, the county, we was in the county back then, I think, and they just left it. All the neighbors was set. I mean, no, there's property out there that, like north side of Tyler, there wasn't nobody. Or on west of me, there wasn't too many. But anyhow, the ground just kind of moved in together. I mean, Smith, he didn't care. I mean, had his own, everybody stayed in their little world. Now, maybe I did say that was my driveway technically. And if I did, I apologize. But, and so there's some false allegations on stories that we took. But the driveway that Dorothy Working and Rev had on 4 lots they had was right up next to their house. And that's where it was. They just either parked on the street or in that driveway. It wasn't a throughway spot to this alley. The only way I could get to this property that Marie Warwick and whoever had behind this little garage I got a picture of is straight behind. It was a grassy path, like, you know, thing. In my time from 80 and up to this, the only time maybe utilities came up is when I had a couple security lights put in, and that's about it.
Because
So
technically
there wasn't no markings on it.
Technically, this is not an alley, is it? Technically, this is not an alley. This is a
Okay.
utility right-of-way. No, I just want that to be, this is a utility right-of-way.
You're saying this?
This, it's not actually used as an alley, it's used as a utility right-of-way. Basically,
Right.
not that you guys can't use it, I'm just saying that
Oh, yeah, but that's the whole game plan here. It's kind of like a easement to utilities to go down, because I got the definition of easement and alley, and it says that for the, you know, the property owner, he must maintain it, which I, over the years, have, you know, putting some stone in and keeping it mowed and everything for the, and plow the snow thing on the utilities. Now, now it's about this wall. If I'm not, and then at the beginning of, on YouTube, when I saw this, it said something about, well, he's completely like 18 inches off, 13 inches off, and unless it was surveyed, which I surveyed, and then Ron and Bill, they came, and her, I think, had their measuring sticks, and they said, now we're in close up like 3 inches or something, okay? 3 inches? Somewhere around there?
Give or take.
I mean,
Give or take.
it's real close on there. But I didn't really, you know, had the contractor or Hoffman's nursery, and it was, and I got pictures of how the bank was. I mean, everything. And so that's why we mainly put that out. Deborah, when she said he kept going up, okay, was coming around that bend up. That driveway goes up. I mean, that's the only way it goes. Now, and to build it higher, it's going to be looking higher, you know, when it goes uphill, it's going to be even at 2 instead of 3. 2 will be, you know, at this height, you know. So that's where we are now. I don't really, you know, I like pertaining to my own little self and my little corner and stuff. And the 4 people that when I moved in, no garages, no, they didn't use that. So now they're wanting to use the, you know, a driveway through and thing. They've got one way in. I don't have no way. Now, there's a joke, well, why don't you cut through half of your yard? That was already an easement to me for that property. And it says on the deed easement, it says to a record. I don't know what book it is, courthouse or whatever. But most of this property was done back in the 40s. And therefore, you know, how was it there? You know, was it where, okay, utilities and Walsh with the electric company, you know, I'm trying to research this. Those poles down there, he said they was all in 1972. Well, I think it goes back further that, I mean, I don't know where to get it. It'd be nice. The only thing I know is Peru was plotted in 1906. But those poles, if electric was going to these 4 houses per thing, they had to be back way before 72, maybe in the 50s, you know? But the electric company had that, or county, or RNMC, somebody, they put the poles in, but they didn't make it a throughway, you know, take off the drop. If it was an alley, city, county that needed to go on, they would have opened it up. But since this property was in since 1940s, you know, Smith, he was a character and stuff, but it's the whole idea. They didn't want anything to change, you know, they was in their little set hold back there. So what I'm wanting to do, okay, the wall, okay, I'm sure I'm okay with that. I mean, they need to, see, we were talking about widening and how to get something up, and I drove a tractor trailer and got a big trailer. I just moved down of the alley or so to my property. It's wide, and it's got a long turning radius. Like if you start turning here, you better start turning. I mean, it's really a bad trailer. But you can mangle some things, and then I've taken trees or moved this over to accommodate what I wanted over the years. Been there 40 years, and from what I started with to what I have, and then you look the rest around the block, how there's not too much. So I want to maintain having that easement to utilities. You know, they have the right of way. Fire trucks, and police officers. You know, I've had most of them come up there at least once. I ain't denying anything like that, but I don't need through traffic.
Right.
And there's plenty of that. I mean, I don't care if you have a lot of friends, but have them parked somewhere else other than coming up down and around. There's no reason why anything behind this my garage or from my way of getting in or out, and that's the only way I've had since, you know, in the 80s, and you know, that should be an easement to me for, you know, for me to get to my property and then maintain that, you know, alley or so-called.
So you had problems with people blocking that where you couldn't get into your property?
Before, and then I, you know, had a few times about moving the vehicle. I mean, there shouldn't be anything going on down. However, well, all you have to do is ask us. Well, you know, I shouldn't have to ask you or anybody else to move a vehicle for me to get to, and I have 5 lots down this side, you know, that goes 1 lot. Plus now I have a lot on the east side of their property. And I know where it might have been, the one at least, way down to the east. I know I got to dig it up somewhere. But on the other side, you know, we're talking about 12 feet, maybe alley, or whatever you call it. Okay, if you measure 12 feet, when they think it starts here, but then it angles, I mean, it's not straight.
Right.
Now, on my side, it's pretty well straight. I mean, you can go down there and probably find that stake if I get a metal detector. But over here, it goes over. Well, and then you're talking about 5 feet, putting a new garage or something. Well, if it's over here, 5 feet more is over here. Plus, if my lot there never was surveyed, it'd be nice if it was surveyed so we'd know where that her trailer is, because the fence, there's a fence there. I don't know whose fence it was. Maybe it's Freddie, it was theirs, but I'd like to know whose fence that is, you know, boundaries, you know, as far as property. So that, I've been, you know, that, I don't know, I like just having my own little private. I've got no trespassing signs, and there's stuff that's ended up in my yard, done this. But now I know that, well, there's not much you can do about trespassers. You know, that really irks me. And but anyhow, I'd rather just put that to a close where, and one of you gentlemen said, how about putting a fence across my driveway? That'd be nice if I had an hour gate, you know, to go.
Sure.
But, and then her son made a real beautiful fence around his new property that they bought across the street. Real nice. And it'd be nice if they maybe put a nice fence right down there on their property line. And then, as far as the garage, her brother, Pete, fantastic carpenter before, he did my siding, insulated it, put a roof on, now I got a metal roof. But excellent, I mean, real good person to do that, but now his physical fitness has went down now. But in a few years back, he could, say, okay, we need so much lumber, you do this. I know they got some friends in that type of work that would chip in that could put a garage up or whatever without putting it up. However, I think they have enough room to bring it up different ways, or take a tree out or move these little sheds over if they really want that, but then have access to the garage from that driveway, or they could make a circle driveway like our brother Pete on Garfield. He's made a loop over there, and technically that driveway that is on Pete's property that comes through, it's his driveway technically because of the two lots. It goes right up through there.
Have you looked at his survey sheet that he has here?
Yes.
Did that help with the,
What's that?
no, I'm talking,
Oh,
yeah.
Talk to me, Jerry.
Yeah.
So, based on what, that was something Mr. Spar said, so it's an easement for the utilities. Utilities have no issues getting up there the way it is right now. Since it's been used for years and years, so it's basically public access based on what he was saying. So the fact of saying, well, I want it to be my driveway, to me, that, and again, I'm not an attorney, but anybody then would have access to drive up and down that. Getting on either his property or their property, obviously that's private property. What we can do to make it, because the way the wall is laid out, and if you look at the other side, the way the slope is, they're pretty close. Depending on how, if you look at it as an alley, it's probably over just a touch, but we're not surveyors, we don't know exactly, we measured it out the best we could. We're like this, that's where we're at. But what we could do is we can sweep out the north side of the alley to match the south side of the alley, the way it's swept out. This side's pretty straight, this side sweeps out, so we sweep this side out. And then there's a hunk of concrete that's been there, who knows, we can lift that out, because that's obviously in the easement. We can take that out, the city will take care of that, we have no problem doing that. Then, if there's an issue of, well, I want to drive a big truck through there or whatever, like I say, utilities can get through. But there is a tree that would be on the north side. That might be an issue if you're trying to jockey something through there or whatever. But again, the big utility bucket trucks, they can drive right up in there.
And that's what the purpose of this
That's what the
easement is
purpose of
for,
the
is to
easement
get
is,
those
so-
trucks up there and not anything else.
Our stance is, what we think is that based on the totality of everything that we've got, all the information we got, we really don't see any action that needs to be taken as far as, trying to move. Because if it's considered an alley, well, now we're going to be 12 feet wide. Now we got to cut into their property, cut into this property.
Mhm.
But it was never a developed alley.
Right.
So if it's an easement, the purpose of the easement was for that. We can't stop people from going up and down it, because based on what he's saying, I'm assuming he's correct, that it's been used that way for years and years and years, then it's considered public access.
And
Now,
then-
that doesn't mean somebody can park in it, because you can't park in an easement.
Because you can't park it, well, it's an access for fire. for-
Exactly, so.
Yeah, so it
somebody
can't be
pull
blocked
up and
in the
pull over
first
here on
place.
On the asphalt, or pull up and pull over here on the, a gravel drive. I don't think we have any ability to block that as far as
Right.
putting up a gate or anything like that. But somebody can't just leave a vehicle sitting there, because again, fire department needs to come or whatever, they can't have the access.
Yeah, sir.
Yes,
That, I agree with utilities, fire and stuff, for them to use that easement on there. But that drive, so-called drive, I'll call it drive, or a way into my property, that was said, is the only way I had, when I bought that property.
Sure.
And on the deed, it says easement and regular things, and I know the word easement says, like, so you gotta allow utilities and stuff, I ain't denying that. It's anything other than.
Well, it's a public easement, it doesn't belong to you,
I did?
and it doesn't belong to them.
Okay.
So, we cannot restrict the
Well-
use of that.
Well,
hang on one second. I think we're kind of getting off of the point here. The point is the wall.
the what?
The wall. Okay, that's what this whole point is about, is the wall.
Okay.
Now, from last month, you folks were saying that it was blocking you from getting a shed up that area.
Right.
Okay. The way I see it personally, he's not blocking you from getting a shed up there, as long as the utilities doesn't have, or fire or somebody like that doesn't have an issue with this, it's their easement.
Right, but there's never been a Peru utility truck or a fire truck been up that easement in years.
Well,
Doesn't
the
matter.
utility truck is just
It
up
makes no difference, it has to be there for that.
There's two limbs down on lines. How Peru utility truck gonna get back
there.
there?
His trailer was blocking it for the last 10 years.
Was.
As long as they, Peru
Okay,
Utilities doesn't have an issue with it. They've looked at it, they don't have an issue with it.
They were just
So that's
the other
that's
day.
irrelevant, they're happy with it.
okay.
Okay, the only issue that I see here, and correct me if you guys see it differently, is that you guys want to haul something up there that wall is blocking.
Right.
So you want the wall,
Not just that, but if you look at your guidelines, they state 5 feet from the back of your house or the edge of an alley. He's not 5 feet from the edge of the
So it's
alley.
not an alley. It's an easement. That
there's a
changes-
difference.
There's a difference.
Oh, so that, okay, so if I wanted to build something on the edge of the alley, I could?
And
Not an
another
alley.
thing,
So you could?
As long as you're not in the easement.
As long as you're 18 inches away from it.
No.
Another thing, there was no permit provided. So if we do get a garage, do we still have to get a permit? I had to get a permit to upgrade my electrical box before we did this.
Different permits for different things. To put up a
If you
landscape,
pour a footer, you
Huh?
have to have a
Let,
permit.
let him speak.
no, you don't have to get a permit for a footer. Okay, depending on what the footer's used for. If you're just putting a retaining wall up for landscaping or something like that, you wouldn't be required to get a building permit.
Correct.
But there's lots of times people don't get permits. We catch them, then we deal with them. The wall's already built. Since I've been here since January, I haven't ever made anybody tear something down that just because they didn't get a permit. The worst case we would do is say, if he needed a permit, we would say, hey, you didn't get a permit, you need to get that.
As long as it meets code.
Exactly, right, obviously.
Just want to caveat.
As far as getting a permit for the building, you don't have to get a permit to put the building, you do have to get a to move it in, is that correct? That's through the zoning department.
I gotta get a what?
There's a, what?
It's through the building
But it's
department.
15,
I've
is
got
it
paperwork to
$15 or
fill
something
out
like that
for
that
it.
they gotta do?
I think so. Brenda usually deals with that because it's
Okay, to
during,
move
in
the shed
the,
in.
yeah.
Yeah. So you don't get a building permit, you basically get a moving permit to get it moved in. Now, there's rules about what you set it on, okay?
And how big it is.
How big it is, depending on how, the size of it, you know, if you get up to a certain size, you gotta have a monolithic pour.
Right.
If you, and that's honestly one of the things that we're gonna change. We have a little bit of latitude, okay, so if you're gonna do basically if you're gonna do a 10 by 12 shed, the way that the ordinance is written up, you're supposed to have that on concrete or something along those lines. I personally don't agree with that. He doesn't agree with it. We've talked to other people on the city council. They don't agree with it. We're gonna work to change that. If it's a small enough shed, then it should, if you just wanna put some gravel in your yard and make it a nice place to set it, you should be, if it's on runners, you should be able to do that. So
Without a permit.
you still gotta get a permit to move it in. Just the same, it's kind of the same kind of permit like moving a trailer or something like that.
Okay, okay.
That's it.
So I have something to show you, if I can, if I may.
Just don't worry about it.
Okay,
No?
that, at this point, that's not part of what we need to deal
Yeah, I mean, you
with.
can come up to this
Uh,
and talk about whatever.
This is that we
Under 200?
voted his fence down and was gonna make him move it based on the measurement.
Under?
Doesn't need a permit,
And our building department has measured it, and it's
anything over 200.
close enough now that,
They feel it doesn't
Yeah.
need to be moved.
yeah, they're comfortable with it.
Because it's an easement and because utilities still have can get in there, we propose to make it a little more ease by
Yeah.
getting rid of
You
the
guys are
concrete.
probably filling it up a little bit.
Yeah, we're gonna
but-
clean it up.
Yeah,
He's talking about that's his only access into his drive. He could make a drive
Well, but
through in front of his hill.
it wouldn't matter if that's his only
Harrison.
access or if he's got 4 other accesses. The fact of the matter is it's been used that way. But on the same token, you guys will be able to use it as well because It's
not according to him.
Well, but that's.
No, what he said was you can't just park there and block.
Can't park.
Block it.
Right.
So if somebody.
You could
That's
drive
fair
it
enough.
out.
The only time that we've parked there, and now he's had people that's pulled up there to do work, and that's fine. If they're blocking, that's fine, we're not saying anything. But the times that he's talking about, and this is kind of what you said before, Jerry, have we or have we not been civil neighbors? We get along?
Fair.
Yeah, okay. Now, at this point, the time that he asked us to move his daughter's vehicle was the day we buried my mom. My mother was the oldest of 14. Yeah, there was a lot of people parking. He had access to get back there with his mower, whatever he needed.
There was a lot of people back there, and he did know that she passed away.
He came up to me, said, she's dead now, the funeral's already over with, don't be parking back here.
His words exactly.
And then
Basically,
he
the
tried
only
to talk
thing-
to this man right here.
I understand that.
And I'm not bringing up none of that. That's not, the concern was the wall, and that's what the whole bit was.
Okay. And that's the only thing before this board at this time, is the movement of that
Exactly.
wall, is that
That's what
wall.
we're here for, was to discuss that. And to try to get what we could get, but we were told, and I was told a year ago, that, and it's circled on our property, 5 feet from the alley. That's what we were going by. We tore the garage down, we're trying to better it, it was left to us, and we were trying to find a shed, you know, it ain't gonna fit because of the wall, you know? We didn't know what we were gonna
And when
get
the
or what we
old
could
garage tore
afford.
down, the property does look a lot better, and I do have excess property now to build on, just trying to get something
And the
in there.
previous, where he was saying that there was no other drive, but his is false.
Where was
because-
it?
Again, this is not what you're asking us
Right. I
to look
mean-
at. So this all aside, I understand all this, but this is,
One of you gentlemen, maybe Bing or maybe somebody missing, said something, well, we've been feuding for a while.
that was me.
Good, okay.
That's why I saw, but that,
Whoa,
whether
whoa.
you,
You did say that, and that feuding, that might be. Now, if you knew my neighbors when that first kind of thing was only those 4 older people, they're all dead now. Now, then they came, the people on the north side of, well, Davison's, and then there's Smith, Freddie Smith, and then there's a Jerry Johnson, and Terry Black. That was a bad group of neighborhood. And if you don't believe me, ask Mr. Hewitt Miles. He was out there. He said, well, he was worse than it. Whoa. I went in there. I protected my own self. I didn't give a shit who. And most of the time, they said, well, and I called the police sometimes. But sometimes the police ain't gonna be there. They sent police, but
I understand,
there's shooting right there, but
Jeff.
there's been a lot of lying.
I make a motion, we approve the appeal.
I second the motion.
Can somebody explain the appeal again?
The appeal is to not tear down the wall. That the wall, from our city survey, our city's measurements and all that, that it's not impeding the thing, it's not in violation at this time.
Even if it's over a property line?
With their measurement that they made, they said if it is, it's maybe an inch.
Without a formal survey, there's no way, I mean, we're using a measuring wheel
So there-
from trying to guesstimate where the center of the road is.
So there hasn't been a survey yet at all?
The way the
Who
road
has
is
a survey
platted,
on it, but
It's okay, I'm gonna show that.
the way the road shows up on the plat, it's supposed to be wider than what it is. So I'd say we're plus or minus 6, 8 inches, maybe a foot. I don't know. I mean, we.
And it doesn't cause a problem for the other tenants to get to their property at all?
No, everybody can drive up and down. I mean, I drive a F-150, I drove it in, the utilities drove their truck in just the other day to see if it was wide enough, and they had some stuff to do. So there's no, as far as normal traffic, no issues.
Our only concern is that we were led to believe it has to be 5 feet from the alley. And we couldn't get our, if that's the case, you know, we can't get our garage up there, we'll figure something else out. But the thing is, if it has to be 5 feet, then everything and everybody else should be 5 feet.
And you
You know,
got it from the
should be
last
for the state.
administration, right?
Huh?
The last administration a year ago told you it had to be 5 feet off the alley,
Yeah.
correct?
Mhm.
The problem is, they didn't know what they were talking about.
Well,
It's
my
not-
papers I just got said the same thing
But
too.
if you.
But that's also a building.
And
Yes.
if you.
If it's a shed or a building, it has to be 5 foot, but the wall is considered a fence, so it only has to be 18 inches off of the
Okay.
right of way.
So there's some differences there. So
Right.
just stop up and we'll go over everything, make sure that you guys, are, you know.
I
And we
mean,
keep
if
using
you're-
this term alley, we're not talking about an alley here.
Right, it's-
Right.
There's two different things altogether,
Right.
okay?
Changes everything.
This is not an alley.
So,
Right,
Bill,
and we were just
And
wondering,
it's
you
on an
know,
easement too, right?
Hmm?
And it's on an easement?
I can't hear you.
And it's on an easement?
It is an
it is an
Yeah.
easement.
It's
public right.
utility right away, utility easement, any way you want to call it.
But it's not an alley, and that changes everything.
Everything.
The only part,
Bill wants to.
yes, Bill,
You had a first and a second, but you haven't voted yet?
they stopped it. Just,
He had a question before we voted, so.
All right.
for,
Are we ready? Are we ready for roll call?
and this
Is
is
it-
to,
yes.
yes is to not tear down the wall.
Correct.
Okay.
No is to tear down the wall at this point. So
Okay.
roll call.
James Howard
You said yes is to tear it down?
is
Yes,
to
yes.
not.
Leave it.
Yes is
Yes,
leave it?
leave it.
Let's say yes. If it ain't hurting nobody.
Joe Mullinex,
Yes.
Dave Moon,
Yes.
Brent Wedding,
Yes.
Mike Wilson.
I guess yes.
Should I leave with one thing that's on this, how it is I call it an easement because it's the only way when I purchased the place to get to my property.
Legally, it is an easement, sir. So,
I'm just saying.
yeah.
Now, you want to call it an alley, you know, where people can go, I'm just saying, yeah, that's how it is. For them to use it or thing. An alley is where I can put my trash cans, my trash, and the city would have to pick it up from that alley.
But it's not.
So, but I want this traffic, and people.
We're not calling it an alley, we're calling it a public access, a public
Actually,
easement.
utility access.
Oh,
Yeah,
utility.
utility.
Utility
That means
access.
anybody other than the utility people or police cars should be not up through there.
But it also says you can't be up there.
Huh?
It also says if that's the way you want to read it, you can't use it either.
Yep.
So why was it back there behind the garage for me to even, I mean, how was I
It
supposed to?
wasn't, I'm not saying it was done right,
my brothers.
Back
but
in
it-
44, that's how
but
it
that's,
was.
but that's an easement for public access, for utility access. And if that's how you want to push it, that means you can't use it either.
Leave it where we just left it, sir.
Huh?
Yeah.
Leave it where we just left it.
You won.
Trust me.
You won.
Willing what?
Leave it where we just left it, sir. Trust me.
You won. Just let it be.
You don't have to tear, according to this board, you do not have to take down that wall.
I understand.
And that's all we're here to talk about,
Well,
is
that's,
the wall.
okay, that's only, but.
That's
I'm
all we're here to
talking
talk about.
The, you know, if I'm going up and down, you know,
As far as people parking back there and that's between you guys.
okay, should they have to pay half of
Uh,
it?
That's not,
We
that's not
cannot
an answer
have
we
that.
can give you, sir.
can't
That's
do that.
outside of our purview.
Yep,
All we talking about here is the wall.
yep.
Okay, the city owns it, so that means they should maintain it.
All we're talking about is your wall, sir.
That's, yeah.
Okay, so, okay, one more question. Where do you guide me to go? Do I go back to Bill and them,
Yes.
or the mayor?
Back to these guys.
Okay,
in your
mayor
building.
controls them, but one of them, and they will say how to go about taking care of some of these other items that I have on the list? This is just the wall. I
This
got
is-
other
that's-
issues
That's
in
all
the
you,
same area.
then you start back with this process over again, sir.
Okay, Bill.
Thanks.
Well,
Sorry, Bill.
Well, we have other business here tonight. We have
okay, well,
another
Bill
thing to
goes
go
back
to
to when
tonight.
Walker was, when I had some of this stuff, and it never was taken care of.
Well, that's back to the building and zoning department upstairs.
That's your,
Well,
We're just the zoning board of appeals.
I thank you for your time.
No worries, sir, and
I
we're,
was able to, you know, thank, and there was a few statements you said, and, you know, I didn't think, well, he will do this and that. No, well, let's look into the, you know, where it goes back to. But we need to go back to about 1944, how this city was. And especially you said,
There
Oakdale.
remarks he made about those,
Well-
this winter.
That won't be these guys.
Let's see, today's
Tuesday.
Tuesday, Wednesday?
Now that
I'll
you've
see
got
you
the
next,
big
I'll see you next, Jerry, next week.
Shall we not see no more of that? That you've won this?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
yeah.
Our 7-year-old nephew.
Can we please take this out in the lobby? This is
Yep, we have
done.
another
Yes, please, thank you.
applicant.
Wow.
It's pretty thick.
Thank you.
Hands
Under
down
the-
to his knees. Well, you can show your ass.
Well, I'm glad you saw it.
Yeah, keep it. We'll be calling the cops next time. We've already have. They're
God bless you all.
Here's one, I wonder what he would say. All right, next, new business.
Next business.
Ooh, okay.
Let me get my glasses back on here. 204 West 6th Street. Ms. Rhodes.
I'm sorry.
Rose, she has that shed right here. and she's wanting to
Okay, I'm back.
Hello.
into the
I'm Beth Rhodes, 204 West 6th Street. I'll make it easy. I just want permission to move my shed 3.5 feet into the 25-foot variance on the front yard. It's got to be 25 feet off of the front property line. And when I bought the shed, I boo-booed, and I've got to move it back to meet fire code. So I
Yeah,
just need
because of where your window juts out.
Yeah, it's 3 feet off of an extension on our house. We've got an alcove window right there. And it's 3 feet, it's supposed to be 6. So I've got to shove it back more into the front yard. It's got to go back 7 feet, which puts it 3.5 feet into the 25-foot.
Are you going back towards the driveway or towards 6th Street?
Yeah, it's on the
Towards
It's towards
6th Street.
Okay, so she's moving it forward.
southwest side, which is the side of my yard.
Okay,
So is that on the side of Fremont and 6th Street?
Yeah.
right.
She's
This is
getting-
one.
So she's coming this way.
Yeah.
It's really a
Okay.
wonky
Everything
setup,
said
but-
back, and I consider back
I know,
to back.
right?
Okay, I'm good, I know where it's at.
Okay.
And that gets
You guys
taken
need to
for
see
fire
that.
code.
I drive by it twice a day.
Which is,
Will it come past the front of your house, or will it still be behind the front of your house?
So yell at me, I have a hearing problem.
So I'm looking at your house here.
And this is.
Moving it forward, will it still be behind the front
3.5, 4 feet.
part of your
Yeah,
house?
pretty much
Away
gonna
from
put
this
it-
window right here.
Almost even with the
Because
front
it's
of the
about 3
house.
feet
Okay,
between there.
Well, that
so
should be an
it's-
easy one.
But it's 3.5 feet
That'd be an easy
into
one.
the 25-foot.
right, right.
You guys need to see the drawing.
I understand.
Yeah.
myself.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't going to come past.
Because at this point, the house isn't even 25 feet back because
No.
his grandfather
Right,
didn't
right.
that happy still, which is the new.
I don't have an issue with it.
I think it should be easy.
Anybody yet? Did you want to comment on this?
No.
Oh. Just Given, you're here, want to see if you want to. Anybody else here? Got any questions?
I make a motion, we approve it.
A second.
Roll call.
James Howard,
Yes.
Joe Mullenix,
Yes.
Dave Moon,
Yes.
Brent Wedding,
Yes.
Mike Wilson.
Yes.
All right.
Now you realize, we're
Okay.
giving you a variance. We're giving you a variance.
Oh, okay,
If you were
thank
to
you.
sell the house, this does not go with it. In other words, they would have
We've been
to,
there 30 years, you're not getting rid of me that
I'm
easy.
just, I just want you to understand
Yeah,
that
that's
this
fine.
variance is only for you. So if you sell the house, you have to tell the people that they would have to come back here to get another variance on that, okay?
Not a problem.
Okay, just as long,
Thank you. Have a
I just
good
don't want you to
day,
get
guys.
blindsided by something down the road.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you.
Is there anything else before the board?
Nope.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second the motion. Okay, Dave Moon seconds the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it.